Hello friends, myself Professor Vinod Pillai. Welcome to C++ programming session. In today's session, we'll be learning one of the concepts of C++, that's function overloading. We'll be learning what is function overloading, what are the advantages, or you can say why exactly we need function overloading. Third, we'll see how to create the function overloading and some of the simple rules we have to follow once we are creating the function overloading. Let's start the programming. First and fundamental thing is what is function overloading. Function overloading is one of the new concepts which came up in C++. This feature was not available in C. According to function overloading, in a single program you can create multiple functions with same name. That means in my single program I can have a function called sum, and I can too have another function even with the same as name as sum only. This is quite possible with the help of function overloading. Yes, it is true that we have to follow some rules and regulations, but it is quite possible to create a single program having more than one functions with same name. That is the concepts of function overloading. Okay, that is, we are just putting the same name, but we are assigning different logics inside the functions, so we can say we have overloaded the function. That's how its name comes up with function overloading. Now someone asks why we exactly need function overloading. What are the advantages we are getting by function overloading, or why should I do it also? The strong advantage, or you can say the consider, is something like this. If this feature is not available, and consider that suppose your user or your customer needs a functionality to add two numbers, then you will create a function called sum, which is taking two parameters of integer type and will serve the request. Suppose the user says I need another function which does the same functionality, only the change is it should take three arguments. Now, as per the rules of C, in a single program only one function can have the same name. You can't have two functions with same name. So anyhow the user have to create another functions with different name. Now as a user point of view, he has to remember different names for different functionality. Yes, it is true, programmer can create X number of functions with different names, but the user who is going to actually use these functions, he has to remember all the names. That means he has to remember this function is for two parameters, this function is for three parameters, this function is for four parameters, or suppose this function is for no parameters. So it is quite difficult for the user's perspective point of view, or you can say someone who is going to use your libraries. So function overloading helps him a lot, because here the user didn't have to remember the name. He simply have to remember is that how many parameters I want to pass. A function, if you want to don't pass any parameters, then also the function name is same, sum. If you want to pass one parameter, then also the function name is same. If you want to pass two parameters, then also the function name is same. So you don't have to remember different names of the function. So users simply have to remember one single function which does the same functionality but depending upon the argument you are being passed. So that is one of the greatest advantage you are getting in function overloading. The same feature is being continued in Java, PHP, and other object-oriented concepts. So you'll see the same concepts in other languages too. So we understood that yes, user's point of view, that this is the biggest advantage. You can have a single program having multiple functions even though they are sharing same name, but they does different purposes, so solves different problems based on the arguments being passed. So we have understood what are the advantages we are getting. We understood somehow that in function overloading we will be having more than one functions, but their names will be same, but some or another way they will be different. Okay, now let's see how exactly we have to create a function overloading. Let's see a simple program. The program is already being created by me, so I've simply put a header file, I've added the namespace. Now in this program, even though it is a simple program, it is having two functions, and the both functions name is same, that is sum. The first one sum is not having any argument, and the second sum is having two arguments. Okay, now this is the most important thing you have to understand in function loading, that this function's name will be same. Okay, the difference will be in the arguments. Okay, so this is the most important point in function overloading. So before going in deep, I'll just specify the rule number one, that is you can have more than two functions or more than one function having same name, but there must be some changes. What are the changes? That is either the number of argument you are passing must be changed, that is one is having two argument, another is having three, one is having one argument, or one is not having any argument, that is fine. So number of argument must be changed, or type of argument must be changed. Okay, so that is one is having integer, another one is having character, one is having float and another one is having integer, or something like that. Third one, or else sequence of argument must be changed. That means one is having integer and character, another is having, sir, both two arguments, function name is also same, so how it is changed? First one was integer and character, second one is character integer, so that is also quite possible the sequence of argument may also be changed. So these are the three fundamental rules you should be knowing. One important point I want to make here is that the return type has no importance in function overloading, not in any subject. Okay, so if you go for Java also, the rules same is same. Number of arguments, type of arguments, or sequence of arguments. These are the three fundamental rules you have to remember in function overloading. So this is an ideal example. I'm having two functions with same name. One is sum, another one is sum, but the first one is having no arguments, second one is having two arguments. So I've used the concept, the first one. Any one of these three rules you have to follow. Either you can go for type, you can go for number, or you can go for sequence. Any one as per your choice, you can go for it. Then it was all simple. I created a sum function, the one which is having no argument. In that I've created two local variables. I've get the value from user and I've printed the value. The second one is having two arguments of integer. I'm passing the value, on the basis of that it does the operation. Here only thing is, whenever I call sum, it just goes and checks is there is some function which is having no argument. It finds this, it calls the appropriate function. When I'm calling this sum, it is having two integer values. It will check is there is some function which is having two integer values. It finds it and appropriate function will be called. You should remember you can't have two sum functions having same two integer as argument, both of them, then it won't work it out, because the compiler will get confused which particular sum function to be called. So you have to follow these three important rules. Any of the three should be followed to get the feature function overloading in your program. You can do function overloading inside the class also. In future programs I'll be showing how to do those things, and once I'll explain how to do classes and objects in C++. If you have any queries, you can mail to me at my email address vinodthebest@gmail.com. You can get all these codes from my blog. Okay, I hope so you have understood the concepts. For any queries and all, you can comment me on the YouTube website. Thank you and have a nice day.